Rojo, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Your name came up when I spoke to Adam Freeman not long ago. Actually, it was a little longer than it feels like. Time flies. But I
Yeah,
did a review for the movie Deadly Dealings,
yeah,
and he spoke very highly of you. So I said, man, I've got to set up a conversation with him. And lo and behold, I shared my calendar, and you jumped in the mix, and I said, man, at least I don't have to reach out now. So at least the feeling is mutual,
yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
here we are. So in short, welcome to Slasher Sports Cinema.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm very excited to be on here and talk all thing film, indie film.
Yeah. Hey man, you're the founder and CEO of Studio 605. Tell me about Studio 605.
Yeah, so Studio 605 is my production company. We started back in 2013 when I did my first film, The Campground. Since then, 605 has just been producing all kinds of films. So back in 2016, we were hired by a filmmaker to help produce their film for the first time, which was The Wicked One. And for myself, it was a very fun process working with another filmmaker to help bring his vision to life. And after that, we ended up kind of making that 605's kind of specialty. 605's been hired on over 20 feature films to help produce with those filmmakers to bring their films from script to screen, is what I like to say at 605. And Deadly Dealings, like Adam Freeman, the one that you mentioned, was one of those. So yeah, since 2013, we've kind of been just working with all kinds of different filmmakers, producing their films, bringing it to life. 2015 is when I actually directed the last film that I directed and wrote, and I've been helping other filmmakers since then. Now this is my first film, solo, that I'll be directing. So I'm very excited to get back in that seat.
Now I'm excited for you, man. You've an indie filmmaker. That there's a lot of information that's encapsulated with that term.
Mhm.
You've been an actor, a director now, producer. Hell, you're a vocalist in the band Slasher Boy, which does music for film
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
times.
We've
So,
we've done that quite a bit.
I mean, are there any hats you're not wearing?
Visual effects artist. I don't do that.
Okay, well, there's a lot of talented people that you've worked with that
Hmm.
can fill that void.
Yep,
So no,
yep.
no harm, no
Full-time
foul, right?
editor, but not visual effects. That's just not my cup of tea.
Well, you co-wrote the film that we're going to talk about today
Hmm.
with your bandmate from Slasher Boy, Tom Commissar.
Yes, yeah.
What's the writing dynamic? How does it work between the two of you pertaining to Placid Park?
It's really good. So like I had been working on the film. The film's now actually been technically in pre-production for 5 years. I came up with the idea in 2019, and I've been kind of crafting it ever since then. Basically, I had written like the first 50 to 60 pages of Placid Park, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I hit the hardest wall, and I did not know where to go with the film. And for almost a year, I just let it sit on my computer. Um, and then I had known Tom previously. We met. I think we met at a film festival, but we did. It's funny enough. So before we had a band, I was hired on to sing for a song, and I did the scratch tracks for a horror slasher musical called Deadly Dealings 2, or not Deadly Dealings 2, Dolly Deadly 2. um,
I was going to say I missed part
yeah,
two.
no,
How did I
not
miss part
Deadly,
two if
not
one
Deadly,
just came out?
Dolly Deadly. I did the scratch track vocals for the musical, so that they could have those on set, and Tom wrote the music. So Tom brought me on to do the vocals. Then again, later on, we were hired to do another film with him on music and me on vocals. Um, and after we did that a few times, we just kind of started chatting, and I realized he's a really good writer. He's got a lot of writing credits behind him. Um, And I kind of was just like, hey, man, I'm at a standstill on my script. Do you think you could help me? And he took a look at it and he completely understood the vision of what I was trying to do and create. And he started coming up with ideas and we started workshopping things. And basically, he would just write, a whole pass. I would go through it, tell him what I like, what I don't like. Maybe, let's punch this up. Randomly, I'd get an idea and I'll talk to him first. And I'm like, hey, I want to do this. How do we incorporate this perfectly into the script? Because I am not a writer. I don't really claim to be a writer. I've
Sure.
directed the films that I have written, which maybe that says something for itself. But Tom is an excellent writer. So I know if I can give him all these amazing ideas, he can formulate them in a way and make them work. And we just kind of go back and forth until it's kind of perfect. But honestly, it only takes probably 3 tries before the dude nails it. He understands the vision of what I'm trying to create with this particular film. So it's just really easy to bounce the ideas back and forth.
It's really important to find that person to bounce ideas off of. I found myself, I'm just a completely different person when I guest on a podcast versus host a podcast. And I
Mhm.
think it's a relaxation thing. Maybe I am maybe I'm a little more loosey goosey with my conversation as a guest. I was just on one of my tag team partners' podcast, Suki's Honeydew Project. So make sure you give that a listen when it drops. And uh, just having those ideas be fresh and be genuine, because you can sit there and sell yourself a joke, sell yourself an idea,
Mhm.
sell yourself a storyline that you're going to end up buying back because you psych yourself out of it. And
Mhm.
you have that person to bounce ideas off of. It's really a priceless
It helps a
part of
lot
your.
because, some people, and I'm guilty of it, at some point, especially as an editor, I'm guilty of it. At some point, you get too close to a project and you can't see it objectively anymore. And having that extra person to say, well, maybe not, really can help you, because at some point once you obsess over a project for so long, it becomes your life, or it's your job for so long. You become so close to it that, like I said, I feel like you're not as objective. Where if you have that person to say, hey, what do you think of this? And if they're honest, if you can trust them to be honest with you and say, that can help your project immensely. So, yeah, having
Almost
that second person, I think, is so important.
almost like having emotions and ideas and conversation on paper. It turns into like binary zeros and ones. Just that's all you see. But
Mhm.
it is a trip you'll never forget. A cosmic nightmare of monsters and psychedelics, Lovecraft inspired. And so before we get too deep, I think it's important we tell the listening audience, in your words, what is cosmic horror?
It's so hard to describe cosmic horror. I feel like cosmic horror is a feeling when you're watching a film almost. It's creating a atmosphere that in itself is a horror. It's not so much always scary or demonic, or but it's this overhanging dread of just like I said, an atmosphere, almost like a tension that you can feel in the air, like a humidity. Like it's
I like
there.
that. I like that. Yeah, cosmic horror is not really the rain and the snow and the lightning, it's the humidity.
Yes, it's the thickness that you're breathing in.
Yeah, that I like that. I've never I've never heard somebody describe it in such a way, but that got my wheels turning. And like cosmic horror is synonymous with H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm.
And we talk about H.P. Lovecraft and we think about the Call of Cthulhu, and we think about the I guess the literary basis
Mm-hmm.
of his work. And I'm actually getting a little bit of an echo. Yeah,
The let me see if
yeah,
I
a
can
little,
fix that a
yeah,
little
a
bit.
little feedback. It's not too bad. So maybe just a little bit lower. But listen, his literary work is based around the idea of cosmicism. Okay, and cosmicism is like this it's a way that his own real life thoughts were, but it's also the main theme of his writing. And it kind of throws out the idea that humans in existence are largely insignificant,
Mm-hmm.
an insignificant part of the universe or universes. And
There's much more happening than your little squabbles.
absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. I mean, at any point in time, we could just be thumped off the earth,
Yes.
and nothing would be missed. That's how insignificant human life
And once you
is.
get so far out in the universe, we're so small. We're it's the same as a grain of sand. Once you
Yeah,
get so far away, we're no bigger. You know?
yeah, not even an anthill.
Mm-hmm.
It's the working organisms within an anthill, maybe, but like this is insignificant. But he basically incorporated, the elements of, I guess you could call it sci-fi,
Mm-hmm.
um, into his stories, and like there's like it kind of represents the fragility of anthropocentrism. Okay, and like in philosophy, that I guess that would refer to, like humans being the only good things on the planet. We're the only ones that have the ability to have any kind of goodness about us,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of moral fiber. And it's almost an arrogant stance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's an arrogant stance, and basically, like, this is probably, and I'm just going out on a limb because I don't know anything about your project other
Yeah.
than what I've read, but I want to know how much of the inspiration of cosmic horror or Lovecraftian horror
Mm-hmm.
are we going to
Yeah.
find in Placid Park?
So for me, what it is it's kind of like we were talking, it's the worlds that he was creating. It was there's something bigger than you. In all of his stories, that was never like a theme, but it was always a reoccurring thing. Like there's always this bigger entity. There's always this bigger thing that, like, on a cosmic scale, you're nothing. And that is an element that I'm bringing into Placid Park. Like, um it's the world and the atmospheres, and the tension, like I was saying, that I feel like his work had, that you just felt the immersion into that world. And so that's a big thing with it that I'm trying to bring into this, is just like the feeling that you would get with his reading. I want to bring that into a visual standpoint. Like we were saying earlier with the humidity, I want you to feel it somehow. I want you to see it. I'm a very visual artist, I feel like. It's probably one of the reasons I'm not a strong, good, busy writer. Um, so I brought on an amazing visual team to help bring these ideas and elements out of my head to show you guys.
You know, the most recent example that I can think of is a film called Glorious. I want to say I saw this on Shutter, but to put it, I guess to illustrate what kind of stories can be found here. There's always an element of
Mhm.
the forbidden fruit, but instead of fruit, it's knowledge. There's like some kind of forbidden knowledge that if you know about it, your whole world is going to turn upside down. And like once you get a glimpse of the thing that you're not supposed to see, that's when the shit hits the fan, you know?
Mhm.
And what's so wild about all this? Let me get back to the film Glorious, and then I'll move on to the next point. But
Yeah, yeah.
Glorious was a film that I saw on Shutter, and basically you got a guy who wakes up at a like a rest stop, and he goes into the restroom, and he starts developing this conversation with the man in the next stall. And basically, the name Glorious comes from the fact that on the side of the wall there is a glory hole with a very wild looking piece of art surrounding the hole. Okay.
Okay.
And it might be something that you might meet in the film. It might not be, but that voice belongs to J.K. Simmons.
Oh wow.
And yeah, this is I'm going to share this with you because if you haven't seen it, like it's one that I do think is
Yeah, I have
very much
Shudder.
worth a
Please,
watch.
I'm gonna check it out.
Okay, so like if you have Shutter, it may
Yeah.
not be Shutter, but
Okay.
we're gonna find it. I'm
We'll
gonna get
find
it
it.
to you.
Yeah.
We will find it. If it would make my week, nothing would make my week more than if I got to introduce you to a film that you love.
Hmm.
But the thing about Lovecraft, man, is like he was never like he died not knowing the impact that
Yeah.
he had on horror. Okay,
It came a lot later. It feels like a
so much
real
later,
appreciation of it.
like during like our parents' lifetimes, maybe even older siblings' lifetimes, because it wasn't until the 70s
Hmm.
that he really got picked up on. Like just that's the way it works. Somebody unearths your work and
Yep.
suddenly you're a celebrity again. But he never reached celebrity status. He was largely unread. He couldn't make enough money to support himself. He took on like ghostwriting jobs, and he just never was able. You would find his work in like Pulp Fiction magazines,
Hmm.
and like there was there was some work that began to kind of unearth his work in the 70s, and now they say he's like the Edgar Allan Poe's next century successor. And
Yeah.
and that's a wild thought. Just knowing that you've like somebody has died without knowing that kind of impact. But I mean, come on, like we say cosmic horror, it's literally interchangeable with Lovecraftian horror. Nobody just names something after you
Hmm.
if you're in the state that he was in back then. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's
The
wild to
impact
me.
is
Impact is the name of the game.
yep. Ever longing. It's here to stay.
Yeah, and it's just wild to me how something can be dead, literally and figuratively, and all of a sudden someone again unearths and makes sense of your work, and it catches fire. Because I do think that he was probably many years ahead of his time.
Hmm.
People needed the short, compact stories, and I mean, just think back in his day, a movie would be 20 minutes long,
Yeah.
and that's considered a full length film.
That's a
You know,
feature.
that is a feature length film at 20 minutes. But Placid Park, you call it high action,
Hmm.
suspense driven,
Yes.
visually stimulating creature feature, or as my best friend would say, a varmint program. We'll go with that. But you can't have cosmic horror without strong visuals. All right. So,
Hmm.
what have you got up your sleeve that you can give away in the way of visuals? Tell us about your team.
So I mean, so I have an amazing visual team, like I said, that I brought on. We've brought on Ismahawk, which is a production company based out of Vegas. I recently worked with them on a production and was blown away at their stunt choreography on set and how well as a team they work together. I was their gaffer, and they brought me right into their team. Absolutely no problem. But everybody was super chill. We bonded very well. Their work was incredible, and their camera team was absolutely incredible. And I was able to see on set, watching them work, that these guys can pull off the shots and styles that I want to do. And then I watched their reel and I was like, all right, yeah, game over. They can definitely do it. The way that I've kind of pitched this to them in the beginning, that I kind of tell you, when it comes to the visual style, is, this is the way that I kind of like to sell it is, if like Zack Snyder had directed Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. Like I love the epic slow motion. Films that have definitely inspired this are films like Dread 3D, Annihilation, um, The Color of Space. Um, they're Mandy, certain elements of that. There's definitely a lot of elements that are going into this visually, because as well, we haven't really said yet, but the characters, the basic plot line for these characters that allows us to visually do kind of what we want to do is, so 7 friends go out to Placid Park, which is like a state park, that they're going to go camping, go hiking, have a good time. They're going to take some shrooms and some acid and just have a great time in the woods together, listen to some music like they normally do, every so often. However, this time there's a monster, shows up in the camp, savagely kills one of them. Now the other 6 have to survive the whole night while coming up on these drugs. So because these characters are tripping, visually we're also allowed to do kind of whatever we want to do, which is a huge, great element. We have so many visual scenes written into the script, that I'm very excited to do. But yeah, definitely because of the plot device of our characters, visually we're going to be taking a lot of liberties. So we have a lot in store for it.
The the tripping balls on shrooms and acid is kind of a recurring theme here. I talked to a good friend named Dean Jacobs. He also has a film coming out called The Trip. I'm not sure if you're aware of Dean Jacobs, but that's another film that we want to really push here heavy on slasher sports cinema. Listen, I love the fact that we've got tripping balls in the woods, because the woods are like the number one scenario.
Yes, absolutely.
For a good horror film. There's something about the woods, man. Listen, I found films that are not rewatchable versus films that are rewatchable. You can, what am I trying to say? Listen, I found that films I'm able to watch multiple times, some dozens of times,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be layered with details that maybe you won't catch on the first watch, or even like an ending where it makes you want to go back and see how you missed it.
Absolutely.
I think about the film The Hateful Eight. It's one of my favorite, probably my number two Tarantino film behind Inglourious Bastards. And I find myself, I've actually seen The Hateful Eight more times than I've seen Inglourious Bastards, because I think there are things that you can go back in the story and pick up on. Like, well, hell, like where was this guy when the coffee was poisoned? Where was he? Where was she? So, like, is that your school of thought on Placid Park? Because I know that in your Indiegogo page, you mentioned you want to be heavy on the rewatch value.
Yes.
But so is that your school of thought on Placid Park, or what gives a film rewatch value for you?
I think it's like you were saying, it's the little things that, if you go in there that second time, definitely. So, on the first viewing, the film's definitely explained, you understand the storyline and everything like that. However, like you were saying, I'm a big fan of being able to have that rewatch value. I think of films like Shutter Island, for example, which didn't quite give you the ending. We on Placid Park will give you the ending, but because of the element of our characters tripping, there's a lot of that we are trying to translate to the audience, which is a lot of, here in one moment and then here in the very next moment, and then trying to figure out those bridges between. So that is definitely an element we're going to be playing with. And when you rewatch the film, you will be able to pick up on things, foreshadows that I don't think you'll catch on the first, watch through. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of, well, if I say that, I feel like I'll give it away for the first.
Yeah, don't say it.
But
don't say
yeah, there will be rewatch value in this. for sure.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised when I read over the cast. Okay, and like number one with a bullet, and not to disparage anybody else involved in the
Hmm.
project, but it's really cool to see Felissa Rose
Yeah.
on this project. Of course, Felissa Rose, you're going to know as well. I mean, a lot of roles, but I guess the infamy came from Sleepaway Camp and
Hmm.
her role as Angela. Um, Obviously, an iconic role, an iconic film, especially if you don't take your horror films too seriously, but at the same time, you better take it too seriously because the ending is probably one of the five greatest horror movie endings in history,
Yes.
and completely unexpected, you know. But I want to know, how'd the conversation go with the casting of Felissa Rose?
It went pretty well. So I've worked on two different films with Felissa now. The first one we did together was up in Indiana. It was a film called The Undesirables, um, where we were able to actually connect and get to know each other a little bit. Um, then a few months later, we had another film called Macabre Mountain that I was working on, and she was actually on that project for at least like a week. She was on set. Um, so on one of the nights when we had downtime and stuff, when everybody was kind of hanging out, um, I kind of walked up to her and told her kind of the basis for the film, the character I had in mind for her. And she loved the idea. She thought it was super fun. Um, we actually filmed, we posted it in our Facebook group and on Facebook, this nice little video endorsing the film that she did for me, with us together. But she just loved the idea and wanted to be a part of it. And I was very thankful that she wanted to be because, it's pretty crazy.
I mean, not to ever insinuate that you're illegitimate in any way, but it does kind of give you a sense of legitimacy. My previous guest is, he's got Tom Matthews, Tommy Jarvis, Jason, Friday the 13th Part 6
Hmm.
in his film. So like it's a very
Yeah.
cool thing to be involved
And to be
with
working with people that you grew up watching on TV is kind of crazy,
in
you know?
iconic roles. In iconic roles,
So yeah,
like
it's awesome.
I would say there's only one Tommy Jarvis, but there are three. But there's only one Part 6 Tommy Jarvis. All right, and Tom Matthews is it, and there's only one Angela front. Well, I know there are two of
Absolutely.
those two, but there's only one Sleepaway Camp Part 1, and that's the one that you just can't take away from us. Some of
Mhm.
the others we might want to forget, but the first one, you go back to remembering the time when they walk up on the beach and there's the killer humming the tune,
Mhm.
and the killer stands up, and there's the full body shot. You don't forget
No,
that
that shot
ending.
is ingrained. Like, I can see it in my mind as we talk about it.
It's almost like ingrained in our DNA, where our offspring are going to be born just knowing about it without ever having seen it.
Yep,
But
yep.
that is Felissa Rose, man, and it's great that she's in your film. We're really happy for you
Thank
to
you.
to land such an
Yeah,
individual.
we're
But
honored.
let's talk about the rest of the cast. All right. So in no particular order, man, just give me some hot takes. All right. Let's talk about Spencer Madison. Like I know Spencer Madison from Tori Jones's Phantom Fun World.
Mhm.
That's my familiarity. But tell me about casting Spencer Madison.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of as well with her. So everybody else I have worked with in the past. Like I said, I've been working on this film for 5 years, and in that time I've been working on a number of other filmmakers sets, meeting, the awesome actor here and meeting an awesome grip here and meeting an awesome sound guy here. And kind of like assembling my own crew for years in my own mind. Spencer's
Sure.
the only one I haven't got to work with, but I have worked with Tori Jones a number of times, and Tori was talking to me very highly of her. I did check out some, footage online that I was able to see. I contacted her, asked her if we could have a video meeting. We scheduled it. Told her, the kind of the pitch for the idea. Gave her the pitch deck. We kind of talked about the character, and she just, you know, was totally on board. and wanted to be a part of it. And I was very excited, and I'm super excited to work with her for the first time. But yeah, I've heard amazing things, so I'm very excited.
Well, yeah, listen, man, like total talent. And listen, before I can go any further, I got to put over Tori Jones, man. Tori Jones is a badass. Uh, I got nothing but time for Tori.
Hmm.
Um, so Megan Renault, um, Megan has worked on like some pretty big recent projects.
Yeah.
Just being on set, worked on the Ghostbusters Afterlife set, film with Paul Rudd. Um, I knew I was going to try and stop myself from saying Phil Rudd, which is the drummer from ACDC. It's the thing I do every time. I call Paul Rudd Phil Rudd every time. Doesn't matter.
Funny.
All right. Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then there's the hit series The Last of Us.
Hmm.
Getting really good experience. But tell me about working with Megan.
Yeah, so with Megan, I worked with her on a film down in Kentucky called Window with a View. I was the DP on that. Um, she was a phenomenal actress um, who I was just super impressed with. She hadn't been on those titles yet. So I was just really impressed with what I saw on set. And like I said, for years I've been working on this film in the back of my mind, and I just approached her and I was like, "Hey, I have an idea for a movie." And this was 2 or 3 years ago with her. And I was like, "Hey, I have an idea for a movie. I think you'd be perfect for this role." She looked over the script, and she's been very vocal with me on how much she loves the script. She's very excited to do the film. She's Canadian based, so I'm excited to get her down here and work on the film with her. But yeah, she's been working on some pretty awesome stuff up there in Canada here lately. She even was an actress, I believe, in Netflix's Black Summer. So she's got some
Yes.
pretty awesome credits and been on some pretty awesome sets here lately.
Yeah, she's going to bring that experience to your set. And there's just with the freshness and the high level of the production of the project she's worked on, she's going to bring in valuable experience.
Hmm.
And guaranteed she's willing to share it. Now, the next guy, man, okay, I got to know about Danny Shepard. Like, this guy's a martial artist. He's been a director. He was Dick Grayson in the Nightwing miniseries. An interesting cat. All
Hmm.
right, so tell me about working with Danny Shepard.
Yeah, so Danny's actually one of the owners of Ismahawk, the production company that we have brought on to help produce with us. Um, so when I was working with them down in Florida or in Texas, he was the second unit director, I believe, or assistant director, I believe, but he was also doing a lot of the stunts, and his stunt work was crazy. Like you said, martial artist. This dude could just jump in the air and do a backflip. It's kind of something I'll never attempt, never try. I watched him run up a wall, something I'll never do.
Yeah,
um,
two things that just aren't for me.
yeah, so watching his stunts were pretty incredible, and seeing how good he could take a hit. And then on top of that, he was acting in the film. He had a minor character in it, but he did really good with that character. So when we were talking about them coming on as a producer, I even told him, I was like, there is this role as well. If you'd be interested, after seeing what you did down in Texas, I wouldn't be against the idea of you having the character. Plus, the character kind of takes a bit of a beating. So being able to cast somebody like Danny helps us a lot because he's a really good stunt guy.
Yeah, speaking of Ismahawk, Jeremy Sumrall's chiming in with
Oh, is
Ismahawk
he?
for the win. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on our screen. But yeah, Jeremy, thank you very much for chiming in. We
Hey,
appreciate you
yeah,
listening.
there he is. What's up, Jeremy?
Jeremy.
Yeah, so
Jeremy has
Jeremy,
spoken.
he is also one of the founding members of Ismahawk, and he is our DP for Placid Park. Um, so all of those beautiful visuals we were talking about, all that crazy cinematography, that's all our boy Jeremy. And he will be shooting this on the Red Gemini with Atlas Orion anamorphic lenses. I'm not the biggest camera guy, but from what I've watched and from what these guys have told me, I have been blown away. So Jeremy's going to be our dude when it comes to these visuals, our DP.
We're gonna have to get their information out just for being so damn helpful. Zach Statham's in here, stoked for the movie. Zach, we appreciate you chiming
What's up,
in,
Zach?
man.
Zach's also one of our actors, playing one of our characters, Wes. Zach by day is a traveling DJ. He goes by the name Primal, producing EDM electronic music. And then by night now, he'll be acting for us in Placid Park.
And Dixie Gurr's making her face seen. Dixie on my mind. Dixie. I got nothing but time for Dixie Gurrs. Let me tell you something. Like when it comes time to book this show, like nobody, and I mean nobody, rounds them up like Dixie.
Dixie's
I'm talking a fucking sheep herder, man. Like you seen videos of those dogs where they trap them to the right, then they push them to the left, and then it's like that's what she just corrals every one of them. Not a one gets away, man.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, and like and no bottleneck. Like I put out the link. It's like, hey, drop me an invite. We're gonna talk about your films. I'll get 2 months booked just from Dixie tags.
That's right, girl.
Everyone's gonna promote, support indie horror. That's a damn fact, Dixie. You are a blessing and not in disguise either. Let me tell you that right now. Now, you brought up Danny Shepard and his stunt work. Tyler Tackett, another stunt man. I know him from the Quantum Devil. But tell me about Tyler. Tackett.
So Tyler was an actor on that film where I met Ismahawk as well. He has this energy about him that is very contagious, which for one of our characters was very important. You love the dude right away. He was a great guy, and watching him on set, he was extremely professional. He was all about good times, good vibes, but he brought his A game. He just killed it as an actor. And after we had wrapped on that production a month or two, I had contacted him and I was like, hey, we kind of got the wheels moving on this film. I've got a character. Do you think you'd be interested in it? Your friends Ismahawk are going to be a part of it. It'd be a good time, get everybody back together again. And he was as soon as he read it, that was the beauty of this script that really made me super happy, was all the actors who read it immediately came on board. They were just like, I love the script. I want to do it. Nobody had issues with wanting to play these characters or go through this scenario that these characters are going to go through. They were all super excited to go on this adventure, which made me super happy as the director and writer, to have everybody just that excited for your vision. So yeah, all these actors you'll hear me say was excited to be on, because they legitimately, every one of them was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Let's do it.
I mean, is it not one of the most, I don't know if I guess you could say humbling.
It was rewarding.
Yeah, rewarding for sure.
Yeah.
But when I think about just the level of effort that people put into some of these projects, it's just beautiful to watch, man. It's so beautiful to watch when someone who had no horse in the race before, things took off, and suddenly they're up there just galloping with you, and it's like, this isn't even like, you don't suffer if if it doesn't go well, and here you are right beside me, you know, shoveling the coal.
Yep.
It's a very humbling thing.
It's like our Indiegogo. They're all pushing this thing with me right now. We're all shoveling that coal together. But we're all in it together, and we're just all excited to work together. I earlier in the campaign of this, I called it my Justice League Unlimited of a team, because, like I was saying, I've really pulled together my favorite people from a lot of different productions, and just was able to like have the gaffer from this and the DP from this and the follow focus as camera assistant from this and the AD from this, and we just have this like perfect, like we have an amazing cast, but the crew is so solid as well, and we just have this Justice League Unlimited of a team.
It's a very good analogy, Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah,
Listen,
there's more than 7, so we have to go with Unlimited.
Yeah, unlimited, but yeah, well, you take creative license with it, but there's a cast member you have that I already knew prior to reading about the film, and I don't know how I know her, but Kamara Cole is involved in this film,
Yeah.
and I know she was in Macabre Mountain and Wolf Hollow, which I can't wait to see. Head on a Plate is another one, but there's another project, and I don't know. It's one of those things where you know somebody through somebody who knows somebody through somebody, and you just can't remember how the dots ever connected. But the dots connected, and I was really pleasantly surprised because I know, like, she puts everything into everything she does, man. So tell me about working with Kamara.
And that's exactly what I picked up on like day 2 when we were on Macabre Mountain. In all her free time, she is, rereading the script, or, practicing lines, or just staying in character. She was super professional. As soon as we were done filming, though, she was one of the best people to hang around with as well. And it just felt, and the character she was playing felt similar to the role I wanted her for. And so every day on set, I was watching her bring this character more and more to life. And by the end of it, I started talking to her as well. Around the same time, I probably talked to Felissa. It was just like, hey, I've got this project I'm really trying to do in the next year. I'd love to have you be a part of it because, she's awesome. Like you were saying, she just brings her A game. And she read the script. She loved it, wanted to be on it. And I'm very excited to have her be a part of this with us.
I mean, A for effort every single time, man. She's constantly into something. And listen, she should be bigger than she is right now. If I'm being
She's a
honest,
great talent. Absolutely.
More people need to know Kamara. So a piece that I was confused on. All right, I've got Stephen Hugh Nelson, Jack Norman, Derek Wehrle, like all listed as the monster. All right, how's that working? What kind of fuckery are you putting up with the monster?
There's definitely some fuckery with rewatch value.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
But unfortunately can't go into it, as it is definitely some plot devices in there. Once the film is released, I plan to update the IMDb, but for now, to help keep the mystery of the film, yes, all 3 of those actors are labeled as the monster. All 3 of them, I will confirm, are playing a monster. But we can't really go into too much of the monster, unfortunately. I can tell you it's a Wendigo. I can tell you it's a Wendigo.
Okay, yeah, I got that from the synopsis. I dig that, first of all. Well, I mean, okay, so we'll just move on and let the mystery remain.
But yeah, we have 3 monster actors all ready for this film.
Yes, you do. 3 cool cats: Stephen Hugh Nelson, Jack Norman, Derek Wehrle. Wouldn't have it any other way. let's talk about Alicia M. Clark. Okay, I know her from Kill Billies, the Tory Jones flick, and Kill Granny Kill, which
Yep.
was a Greg Brock and Jake Ennis film. Man, I got nothing but time for those guys.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing but time for those guys. Like they got the Killer Bob Ross film coming up, The Art of Killing. Not
Yes.
literally Bob
I
Ross,
love the
just a Bob
poster
Ross
for
esque.
that.
Man, is that not the greatest thing? I love how lately we're taking things that are so pure
Yes.
and
Yes.
turning them into pure evil. It happened with the Grinch. It happened with
It's
Winnie the
starting to
Pooh.
feel like almost a new subgenre of horror here lately.
Yeah, what should we should give that a name?
You
Like I
know,
don't know
like
if it's
found
like
footage slowly became found footage. These are
yes,
slowly becoming like ironic horrors or something. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
fairy tale. Well, the thing is, fairy tales were originally horrific.
yeah, oh
You
yeah,
know,
the
like
Grimm tales were terrifying.
yeah, they were quite grim, and like somehow they got just spruced up, and
They got
everything
Disneyed.
was. Yeah, they got Disneyed up,
Yep.
and that was just no. But now Winnie the Pooh's been left alone in the woods with his friends for years.
Blood
He's
and
become
honey.
feral. Yeah, and but even like you go back and look at Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter,
Yep. Yeah,
like
that's kind of
he
where a
was.
lot of that I feel like maybe started.
It could have. It could very well could have. I mean, I know you think
Then
about
you
the
had
good guy
what was
doll
the
from
other one? The
Chucky, and
Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. Right after that.
Jesus Christ! Like this is they do it with everything. Their Cocaine Bear came out. And I'm pretty sure I saw like Meth Rabbit or something. I can't remember what it was, but,
It sounds like
and
the next Asylum film.
I really hope so, man. But yeah, the Art of Killing. Make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be great. I believe it'll probably premiere somewhere in or around Louisville.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make that trip to check it out. But I don't want to leave anybody else. So like, who else stood out on set, man? Who else do you want to put over that I haven't mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm scrolling here. You kind of nailed them all. The other two would definitely be Harper and Logan Kidd. Um, so I've worked with both of them on Tory Jones Productions. Um, and then I also did a short film with Harper and Alicia. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time they met as well. Um, and on set they got along perfectly. It was as if they had been friends for a very long time. They had this very natural friendship about them. Um, so that whole day on set, I kept thinking like, damn, they kind of like work really well together. And Harper, so I had approached Harper and Logan about this back in 2019 when I came up with the idea. I've had them attached to the film since its creation. And they've been a part of the whole journey. And they literally just got to read the scripts for the first time like 2 months ago after saying they'd do it for 5 years. No idea what the script would be. Luckily, they loved it. But I worked with both of them on, Wicked Ones and They See You. Harper was one of the leads in that. Um, and I've just always loved those two together. They work really well on camera together. They're friends in real life, so it just works. And I've just always, like working with them as actors. So, and like I said, they've been literally since the beginning, before I had a poster, it was just an idea of, yo, these people are going to go to the woods, trip balls, and there's a monster. You guys on board?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yup.
Yep. And then all the way now to the point where, so to give the quick backstory on the film, I came up with it in 2019 when I was at a music festival in Ohio called Lost Lands, which is like an EDM music festival. There was a DJ playing who was one of the main reasons I went. His name is Figure. Figure pretty much specializes in like horror EDM. He's like a horror music producer. A lot of his music is inspired from old horror films and things like that. So I've always been a big fan of him. So at this festival, we're watching Figure, And the idea popped into my head, realizing a lot of the people at this festival are a little messed up. They're all on a little something. Nobody's sober. And the idea pops into my head, like, what would happen if a monster showed up here? Like, none of these people are in their right mind. What would they do? And I even looked to my buddy and I'm like, yo, what if a monster showed up here? What would happen? And his response was, I don't want to think about that. But I couldn't get the thought off my mind. And then jump forward now 5 years, Figure's doing the music for the film. So the guy who helped create the idea in my mind with the music, and the music I listened to a lot when I was writing it, is now doing the music for the film. So it's very full circle, and very excited. I made sure I didn't want to leave Figure out.
Absolutely. Listen, we've got to help get this film made. I already bought my perk. We can talk about what it is later, but like backers have a nice variety of
And we
perks
added a new one today.
And you added a new one today. You know, I'll let you tell them what that is. But you can support this film via the Indiegogo campaign, and the link to the campaign will be found in the episode description. But go ahead and tell the public, man, what's available. We're really close to hitting goal, and then you can tell them about that.
Yeah, man. Let me make sure. I'm pulling it back up just to make sure I don't get the numbers wrong.
Yeah, hit that refresh button.
Yep, I did. All right. We are 88% funded. We are so close. So we have a goal of 15,000 and we're almost to 13.5. Like you were saying, there's definitely an array of perks on here, ranging all over the place. The one that we added today is actually the coloring book, which I'm super excited for. So this is a film about color. You know, there's going to be a lot of color, a lot of visuals, like we were saying. So it only made the most sense to have a coloring book accompanying this film. So we'll be using stills from the movie, and then getting those done for a coloring book so that people can, you know, interpret the film into their own visual style.
Or trip balls and just, you know, draw color the colors that you see.
Yep, and it's definitely an adult coloring book, because, you know, like we've said, there's some drug usage in this film, and I plan to have some of that in the coloring book. So it's definitely an adult themed coloring book.
Well, listen, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, older cartoons wouldn't fly today.
Oh no,
wasn't
not even the Looney Tunes I grew up on could air today.
No. But you know,
it took Elmer Fudd's gun away. You know,
they took, like, what is he without his gun? You know, what is he without his gun? Listen, I watched Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown not long ago, and in that film, every night Snoopy and Woodstock are moonlighting at the next door bar to the chateau, and they are getting fucking hammered. Okay, that's not happening in 2023 on cartoons.
Absolutely not. You know, we also have, you know, obviously we have the Blu-ray, and we have digital download. We have a signed poster, which, like we were talking, we have an amazing cast attached to this thing with some amazing credits already under their belt. But these are people that are hungry. These are not people, you know, these are people that are going to keep getting more work. So who knows what they're going to be attached to next. So that's always, for me, really exciting to be able to get a poster from people that are fresh and hungry and that are getting all the new jobs.
And you're going to have their Herbie Hancock right there on the paper.
Absolutely.
You know? Come on.
We definitely have the poster, and those are 11 by 17, like the ones behind me. So very easy to, you know, put up anywhere. You don't have to have a big space for it.
Let me tell them about the perk that I got. There's a perk where you can basically get your brand logo into the film in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I don't know how that works. I just said, you know what? Yeah, I want Slasher Sports in the film.
Yeah, so the way that works, and that's actually been one of our popular ones. We only have 5 of those left. We've got 20 of them in the whole film, 15 have already sold.
Yeah.
So only 5 of those things are left. But what it is, so after the campaign, when you check out with Indiegogo, it leaves your email with them. And I'm reaching out to all those people and basically getting a PNG style logo of their brand or band, whatever it is. And we're printing those on like pins and buttons that the characters wear on like their backpacks and on like their personal.
Yeah.
So like your brand will be featured as like, these characters kind of favorite things and hobbies, and throughout the whole film. And some of the items are even kind of important for the plot, throughout the film, like a backpack, for instance. And you just might have your pin or button on that backpack. So little
How
things like
cool is
that.
that?
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a scene in the film like I believe it was Wayne's World where they were pitching like the Pepsi and
Not
the
quite, not quite,
Motrin.
not
Okay,
quite.
and you've got Garth over there and all his Adidas gear.
No, but we make
God,
our characters in the film big fans of your brand. And we feature it on camera throughout the entire film with our characters. Because like I
how
said, it's
cool is that?
something worn by our characters.
How fucking cool is that, man? But listen, we're really close to the goal.
Those are
88%.
only $25, and you can
Yeah,
have your
25
brand right in
bucks.
the movie.
Listen, this is that is the easiest marketing ploy I've ever come across. Like, I
Hmm.
paid 25 bucks and Slasher Sports can be in this film that's going to kick ass. Okay, Slasher Sports is forever
And
going to
who's to not
be.
say that blood and all kinds of other things might end up on that pin, on those characters? Who's not to say what happens?
Listen, maybe the little needle on the back of the Slasher Sports pin accidentally stabs Felissa Rose in the ass. Who knows?
Maybe.
You just don't know how this film's going to go. You don't know what happens when people trip balls. Come on. Rojo, let me just tell you, man, I really appreciate you coming on. So before we slide into the gag reels, tell
Yeah.
everybody where they can find you on your socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely on Facebook, that's the big one. Studio 605 LLC. It's pretty easy to find us on there. I think there might be a hair salon that's also Studio 605, but we're LLC. Um, myself on Facebook, pretty easy to find, Roman Jossart. One of those names, not many other people have. Same with Instagram, Studios. It's, I think, at Studio 605. So we're all easy to find. It's the same thing on YouTube. Um, definitely find us on there. But the big thing right now is, go to our Indiegogo, check out our campaign. I've got a whole pitch video on there where I really go into detail about, all the different aspects of the film and the people attached. Give you the nice 3-minute elevator pitch. And then check out all the perks, like you said, with the all kinds of things. We've got mushroom perks. We've got, a collector's cup. We've got the coloring book, the DVD, the signed posters, shout outs from Felissa Rose on set that she'll be filming, personalized to you. We only have 5 of those. All kinds of awesome perks. So yeah. Placid
And
Park.
again, the Indiegogo link will be in the episode description to this episode. So remember to check out the shows within the Slasher Sports family. That's Slasher U with Christian Rao and Steve Feck, keeping you up to date with college sports. Suki's Honeydew Project with Suki Suburbia, where she's taking you by the hand, getting you out of the house.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, Jen, all
Thank you.
about the coloring books. Listen, we got to grow up. All right. At some point in life, we have to grow up and buy 2 of those. But
That's right.
yes, listen, that's all I can tell you, man. The OK Baseball podcast with Christian and Sean Doyle, covering the latest and greatest in Major League Baseball. And if you're patient, I'll be joining the party with my daily fantasy sports picks once baseball season is in full swing. Now, for Roman Jossart, my man, I appreciate you immensely. Thank you very much for coming on, giving me your time. And now, may you all go forth, and may you drink the blood of your enemies from the skulls of their children.
Thanks, man.